The Boston Bruins don't have to beat the Toronto Maple Leafs in Game 5, but the Boston Bruins kind of have to beat the Toronto Maple Leafs in Game 5.
You're Locked On Bruins, your daily podcast on the Boston Bruins. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is up, Bruins fans, and welcome back to the Locked On Boston Bruins podcast. I'm your host, Ian McLaren, and this is a daily show where we discuss all things Spoked B. Today is Tuesday, April 30th, and I want to thank you so much for making Locked On Bruins part of your daily routine, free and available on your favorite podcast app and on YouTube. We are part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And today's episode is brought to you by Monopoly Go. Grab your monocle, throw on your top hat, join your friends, and download Monopoly Go, now free on the App Store or Google Play. The Boston Bruins have a chance to advance to the second round of the Stanley Cup playoffs with a win tonight against the Toronto Maple Leafs on home ice. Obviously, they could have 3 chances to advance here, having a 3-1 series lead, but the Bruins, it's imperative that they finish things off here tonight. Before we get into that, a quick reminder, you can find the podcast on social media at Locked NHL Bruins. You can find me, my hockey thoughts, dad jokes, at Ian C. McLaren. I am a lifelong Boston Bruins fan. I've been covering this team for various outlets for 20 years. I have been hosting this podcast for 5 years. Before that, I was a full-time hockey news editor for The Score. And speaking of The Score, let's run it up tonight on the Toronto Maple Leafs and finish them off. There's a lot of discussion, obviously, about Boston being up 3-1 in this series after having been in a similar position 1 year ago. And they had the 3-1 series lead against the Florida Panthers, lost 3 in a row, and failed to advance after a record-setting regular season. Now, the Bruins were asked about it yesterday, and the focus is on the present. Head coach Jim Montgomery said they didn't talk about the Florida series. They talked about urgency, about the group they have this year, about how they need to get better because there's areas of their game that they need to continue to improve on if they're going to succeed in this series and beyond. It's just the way it is. The experience of last year, Montgomery said, helps us this year, but they haven't talked about it. It's a whole new group, obviously. There's no Patrice Bergeron. There's no David Krejci. Tyler Bertuzzi's on the other side of the ice. So many changes from last year. This group has had to grow on its own, and we saw some of that growth come out in Game 4. The Leafs had pulled to within 3-1, and the Bruins were out there 5-on-6, and the Leafs were not able to score. The Bruins, who had so many breakdowns earlier in the season in that situation, they showed that they were able to learn from that and close out that big game. How many times have we seen teams score late period goals to push it to overtime, and then the Bruins ended up losing? That wasn't the case in Game 4, and hopefully they can show continued growth by finishing things off. Charlie Coyle said, you always learn from last year, the year before that. You learn from every playoff run you've been in. And that's why having veterans on the team, guys that have been around, guys that have won, guys that have lost, it's great to have all of these people who have experienced the ups and downs and how to ride it and learn from it. Obviously, the Leafs are going to, well, maybe not obviously. I was going to say, obviously, they're going to come out and play one of their toughest games of the series. They always say that the 4th win is the hardest to get because teams have their backs against the wall. They're going to get everything they can. Not necessarily guaranteed with this Toronto group. Let's be honest. They have not proven to be able to rise to the occasion very often with one playoff series win with this core 4 intact. The Bruins, however, are expecting their best game. They're preparing for the Leafs to be playing their best game, and they're trying to tighten things up. hone in on details, their compete level, all that good stuff that has brought them success so far. Now, there is some question as to whether Austin Matthews is going to play. He did not practice on Monday, dealing with lingering illness. And obviously, if he's not in the lineup, that's a huge bonus for the Boston Bruins. But Jim Montgomery said, to steal a line from Bill Belichick, the most important thing is we eliminate outside noise and we just focus on Toronto. Don't focus on the Panthers, who could be in their heads from last year and are awaiting them after beating the Tampa Bay Lightning. They don't focus on the possibility of a Game 6 against Toronto or a Game 7 back on home ice. Just this one game. And really, again, like I said off the top, they don't have to win this game. If they lose, they're still up in the series. They still have a Game 7 that could be played on home ice, but they really do need to end it tonight. Do not give Toronto any hope. This team is offensively loaded when everybody's healthy and, physically and mentally, which the Leafs, there's obviously some things going on all over the place with this team, but they're one of the top offenses in the NHL for a reason. They have so many weapons. They have the ability to put up goals on any given night. Do not give them any sense of hope, and do not put any doubt in your own heads about your ability to close things off. Just finish them tonight. If they lose tonight, again, they're still in a decent spot, but those seeds of doubt certainly will be planted in the fan base. People will be like, oh, here we go again. Same old Bruins. They can't get it done. And you're giving the Leafs a sense of hope that, hey, maybe we're this year's Panthers. Maybe we can come back on these Bruins and take it all the way. Now, again, these Leafs are not those same Panthers, are not the Panthers. They don't have, I'd argue the Panthers are a much better team, and whoever wins this series is going to be in tough against the team that ended up winning the Atlantic Division. So all that to say, that's a special group in Florida. They were able to pull that off last year, but the Bruins cannot allow even the Leafs to get a foot in the door here and try to keep prying it open, keep pushing it open until they walk through to the second round. Just close the door and move on. That's what the Bruins mindset has to be tonight. Stick to the plan, stick to what has worked for them so far in these 4 games, keeping the Leafs to the outside, limiting high danger chances, towing the line, and that's going to be a big key because Toronto's power play has been, on life support over the first few games. The Bruins have given them chances by taking 3 too many Bears penalties so far in this series. Stay out of the box, play a clean game, play a smart, efficient game, shoot the puck on net, whether it's Joseph Wall or Ilya Samsonov. If it's Samsonov's, you know he can be beat. If it's Wall, he could be coming in a bit cold or feeling a bit of pressure, trying to get his team back in the series. Just keep shooting, keep doing what you're doing, and finish this team in Game 5. Finish it off tonight. Do not give them any hope and do not allow any doubt to seep into the equation here for the Boston Bruins. All right, coming up, we're going to talk about some possible motivation for Jeremy Swayman to beat the Leafs, as well as Linus Ullmark's mindset, as we do not know who will start Game 5, as well as discuss some other potential lineup changes here as the podcast continues. All right, timeout. We got to talk here about Monopoly Go. I know what you're saying. Flag on the play. You've already talked about it, but there's just so much good stuff in this game. In Monopoly Go, you can team up with your friends for timed tournaments where you work together to build up each other's boards. The more you win together, the more awesome prizes you unlock. And there's so much to get, like unique stickers you can trade with friends to complete albums for big prizes, cool new playing pieces to travel the boards with, hilarious emojis for taunting friends when you smash their buildings or heist their vaults. And Monopoly Go feels new and exciting every day with constantly changing tournaments and challenges. A ton include their own unique mini games like digging for treasure or a robot pachinko machine. There's always new timed events that help you win big, like massive multipliers for everything you win or rent frenzies. There's always something fun to discover in Monopoly Go, so get off the bench and go download it now free on Google Play or the App Store. Game on. Thank you so much once again for making Locked On Bruins part of your daily routine, free and available on your favorite podcast app and on YouTube. While you're there, check out Locked On Sports Today, bringing you the latest news, analysis, and opinions 24/7 on YouTube or the free Amazon Fire TV channels app, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And today, the big question again is who is going to start for the Boston Bruins? Do you continue to ride the hot hand in Jeremy Swayman, or do you turn to Linus Ullmark? Linus Ullmark, to his credit, remaining as professional as possible while trying to stay ready for when he might be called between the pipes. Let's be clear here. The Bruins, if they choose to go to Linus Ullmark, it's not a downgrade. This guy, yes, the Vezina Trophy finalists were named on Monday. He was not one of them, but he is the reigning Vezina Trophy winner. He won it last year. So while Jeremy Swayman has been excellent against the Maple Leafs, there's a reason the Bruins had this tandem, and it wasn't just to appease the other guys. It's because either guy can win on any given night. And the question is, do they put Ullmark in net so as not to ice him out or to have him too rusty for when he is called upon? Or do they just continue to ride with Jeremy Swayman, who has been excellent? And Ullmark, who did participate in everything on the ice yesterday, said there's a reason he's around, and it's not to be a salty crybaby about not playing or anything like that. He said, quote, "I try to stay professional, supporting the guys throughout the team here, going out every practice, trying to do better, try to push people in any way that I can, and try to bring that energy, whatever I can, when I'm off to the side as much as I do when I'm in the net." He said, "I can't take it easy. You never know what happens. Always hope for the best. Expect the worst kind of thing." And that's the thing. You always have to be vigilant and stay positive throughout the series. And for him, it's just staying in the moment. He said the communication between him, head coach Jim Montgomery, goalie coach Bob Essensa has been good. You just take it day by day. Obviously, he said Swayman has been playing tremendously. He has a lot of faith. He's very happy for him. And that's what he wants to do as well. Stay positive, supportive. Because if, quote, "I don't support my guy, I'm not supporting the team. And if I'm not supporting the team, I'm not supporting him." So it kind of goes hand in hand. Long story short, Linus Ullmark wants to play. You can hear that in his voice. He's saying in a backwards way, I'm not being a crybaby, but at the same time, there's reason to be discontent. You are the reigning Vezina Trophy winner, and you're not playing in the playoffs when the games matter most. That hunger is good for the Bruins because if and when he is called upon to play, he's going to come out and prove, hey, that he belongs in the net just as much as Jeremy Swayman does. Swayman has been excellent, and there's every reason to go back to him in Game 5 to close things out against the Toronto Maple Leafs. In fact, there could be some added motivation there as it's been going around, the story that Jeremy Swayman thought he was going to be drafted by the Toronto Maple Leafs. And they selected a goalie one spot ahead, Ian Scott. Jeremy Swayman went the very next pick to the Boston Bruins. And you know that there's a bit of, I'm going to show you one day. And this is the perfect opportunity for him to do that. Don't forget, down the stretch, Linus Ullmark was much better than Jeremy Swayman kind of post All-Star break. And the thought was that perhaps Ullmark had the upper hand here going into the playoffs. If you go back to, let's say, when was the All-Star break? So February 6th up to April 30th in the regular season, the Boston Bruins, no, not October 10th. I meant February 6th. Linus Ullmark was much better. Jeremy Swayman had a .903 save percentage, 9.7-1. Linus Ullmark had a .917 save percentage. And if you kick it up a bit further than that, let's go to March 1st. Linus Ullmark had a .923 save percentage over his last 11 starts. Jeremy Swayman was at .904. So it's not as though Jeremy Swayman came in as the hotter goalie down the stretch. It was Linus Ullmark, and he very much deserves some playing time. It's just that Jeremy Swayman has been so good. A .956 save percentage against the Toronto Maple Leafs. It's very difficult to just not continue to ride him, to make no changes from that Game 4 win against the Toronto Maple Leafs. But either way, the Bruins are very good in net. We've been saying this all season long. The biggest, if not the main, is that the same thing? Biggest, main? A huge reason why the Bruins were so competitive this year in what was a transition season was the goaltending. They had top 2-3 goaltending all season long, team save percentage wise. That remains the case here in the Stanley Cup playoffs, even with Linus Ullmark taking the loss in Game 2. If you look at save percentage, 5-on-5 through the playoffs so far, the Bruins rank fourth. If you go to all strengths, the Bruins in save percentage, they rank number 1. And that's a huge reason why they are first. Now, talked about it a bit yesterday with the Runes driven Nassen. I've talked about it all season long as well. The Bruins PDO is a bit inflated. You expect that to pop, perhaps. They're at 107.2, a 94.4 save percentage, and a 12.84 shooting percentage, which is 5th among all playoff teams so far. Is that about to break or bend against the Maple Leafs? And will there be some regression as the Leafs have the better numbers when it comes to shot attempts, shots, scoring chances, etc.? Or is the Bruins team defense just so good and their goaltending so elite that this series is pretty much over? We're going to find out tonight. There are some lineup option changes that Jim Montgomery may be considering as some guys get healthy here. It's a good problem to have, and we'll discuss it more here as the podcast continues. It's playoff time in the NHL and the NBA. Baseball is in full swing, and FanDuel is your place to bet on every game. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets, guaranteed win or lose on your first bet. What an opportunity. That's $150 in bonus bets, guaranteed win or lose. If you want to bet on the over-under for tonight's Bruins Maple Leafs game, it's set at 5.5 goals. You can also bet on everything from home runs, slap shots, slam dunks, all in an app that is safe, secure, and easy to use. So what are you waiting for? Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and make your first bet an automatic win. $150 in bonus bets guaranteed at FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. All right, the Bruins did practice yesterday. There were a couple notable absences. Brad Marchand, Danton Heinen were not on the ice as they sat out for maintenance. Looks here on Tuesday morning, I'm seeing reports that Brad Marchand is on the ice for the Bruins morning skate, which is obviously essential. Now, a couple of guys that have been on the outside looking in due to injury are Justin Brazeau, Derek Forbort, and they are options to suit up as Boston looks to close out the Leafs tonight. They're going to see if they're in the lineup or not. There's steps left to be made, but they are close. And Montgomery did say that there is some trepidation in the idea of inserting Forbort specifically into the middle of a high-intensity series, given the defenseman has missed nearly 2 months after undergoing multiple surgical procedures in early March. My feeling, don't change the defense at all. It has been working since some changes were made heading into Game 3. Unfortunately, that means Matt Grzelcyk on the outside looking in probably will be finding a new place to work next season. That's with the emergence of Mason Lohrei. Parker Wotherspoon has been playing very good as well. Perhaps you give Kevin Shattenkirk a rest and put Forbort in, or you just put Grzelcyk back in as well for Shattenkirk. There are options there on the blue line. Brazeau has missed about 4 weeks with an upper body injury. He said he feels good. He's excited. He's worked his entire life to get here, and he is excited to get there and hopefully help out. And I would love to see him back on the fourth line, put that JB line back together that had been playing so great recently. Jesper Boqvist, Johnny Beecher, and Justin Brazeau. Brazeau had really started to heat up. He does have a history with Toronto. He played for a bit in the Marlies organization, played with the Newfoundland Growlers in the ECHL. 5 goals in 19 games. 4 of those came in his last handful of games before getting injured. I would not at all be upset taking him or putting him back in the lineup. As to who comes out, though, perhaps Heinen is a bit more banged up than they're letting on. That would be an easy spot. And maybe Maroon takes a seat, although he's been very effective, and you want to have him in there for his veteran experience and leadership. It's a good problem to have all these healthy bodies. We'll see if he gets in there. He's an Ontario native. He's a big body. Could be disruptive out there. We'll see what, if any, changes are made. My sense is don't make any changes. Don't mess with the vibes. Just go with what worked over the past couple games and try to close it out, provided Danton Heinen is healthy. If he's not, then go with Brazeau. Now, David Pastrnak, I'm expecting to have a big game as well. There's been so much talk over the last few years about his giveaways, turnovers, etc. He's only got 1 so far in these playoffs, which is amazing. However, you'd like to see him also have a bit more of an offensive breakout. How he's been blocking shots, he's been limiting his turnovers, he's been making plays, but he even said on Monday he's not quite there yet where he wants to be. Other guys are stepping up, namely Brad Marchand. They're getting production from other players. He's finding ways to help the team, but he wants and he's due for that big breakout moment, and we would just love to see him have a hat trick tonight in the elimination game for the Toronto Maple Leafs. He says he has learned from the past, going back to the Florida series. You don't get married to it as well. It's a different team. It's a different game. They've battled hard to put themselves in this position. They have to stay in the moment, focus on the next game. He says he's close. He's happy with this game. He'd liked it to rise throughout the series, and what a moment it would be for him to have a 2-3 goal game tonight. He's not getting many looks. He's fine with it because he's still getting enough looks, and hopefully that will increase. Brad Marchand did a great job to set him up in game 4. The Leafs have keyed in on him, obviously, but there's still room to break out, and other guys have stepped up, namely Brad Marchand, Jake DeBrusk. But I have a feeling that this is going to be a huge game for David Pastrnak tonight. Game 5, Bruins, Leafs. Tomorrow's episode, we will obviously recap whatever happens tonight. Hopefully, it is a win, but you never know. The vibes feel really good right now, and please just finish the Leafs. Do not let any hope sneak in. Do not let any doubt sneak in, and just finish it off tonight. All right, that's it for today's episode, my friends. Thank you so much for taking the time to listen. Thank you to those who have subscribed already, who are regular listeners. Please do subscribe, become an everydayer. We'll talk to you again here tomorrow on Locked On Boston Bruins, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your favorite team every single day.